Hello and welcome to Metra AV Tech Tips. I'm Brent.
I'm Adam.
And what you're seeing is an optical illusion.
Yes, it is.
We're not really here.
That's right.
Where are you right now?
I am at TOLA. I'm in Dallas right now, actually, and hopefully right now I'm in the midst of talking with a bunch of dealers on the show floor.
About what we can't talk about yet.
Well, and also about other stuff that I can talk about, like HDMI and whatever other products that we have and whatnot. So, but yes, right now, in theory, I should be in Dallas, Texas at the TOLA Expo.
Doing whatever it is you do.
Doing whatever it is I do. I'm there with one of our sales guys that's from the area there. If you are in the area and you are not at the TOLA show, if you have time, go out there and check it out. And reach out to your sales rep here, which should be, if you're in the area, it should be John or maybe Mickey. But reach out to them.
Mickey will be there with you.
Yeah, Mickey will be there with me. Reach out to them to see about if we can get you in the show or not. If it's this late, it might be too late for you, but either way, come check it out.
The show is Wednesday, Thursday, I think?
Wednesday, Thursday. I believe you are correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So today should be the first day. Then tomorrow should be the last day for it. We're going to have a great time. Actually, in fact, if you are at the show, I believe we're going to Gillies afterwards. Have a good time.
You're just really rubbing in Dallas, aren't you?
At least a little bit of it,
because
right?
next week?
Yes, the weekend. Yeah, next week.
Next week?
Yeah.
Just know where I'm going to be. Ain't Dallas.
Nope.
It's Barcelona.
You're going to Barcelona. You're going to the ISE show in Barcelona, Spain, which you are definitely not rubbing that in, of course. You know, even a little bit.
Do you think I would gloat over you on that?
You're so modest.
Well, yes. Now, what is this week's topic? But before we get to that,
sure. As always, everybody, like, share, subscribe, share this video out to as many people as you can think of that might possibly help them in whatever it is that they're in the midst of doing.
Or if they just need a good laugh.
Or if they need a good laugh. If you are watching this and you have any questions, even though this is not a live video per se, we will be monitoring the chat, so you can go over here to the chat on the side and leave your comments, leave your questions over there.
I'll be there to watch it.
Yep, and then also you can go and leave it down in the comment section. We monitor those as well if you're watching it after the fact or if you are watching it live or when it goes live or whatever. So please do that for us. We're happy to answer any kind of questions that you have for us. And with that being said, what is the topic of the show today?
This week is an interesting because we get a lot of phone calls on this. And how to best get, and the short of it is ARC.
Yes.
And we've talked about this before. How do we get audio from that TV to that rack?
Right.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Or a sound bar.
Yeah.
And in the past, our opinion of ARC has not been the most complimentary.
That's very true, and I do have to potentially apologize. Maybe is that maybe not? No,
not for
no,
ARC.
because it really was not good.
No,
it really was not good.
It was a great idea.
Yes.
And we're going to go why it's a great idea and why it wasn't a great idea.
Yes. So first and foremost, let's just go ahead and put out there right away that in the early days of ARC, it was
last week.
No, yeah, sure. In the early days of ARC, it really was not good, and I'm going to say why. And my own theory as to why. Mostly because nobody could agree on the correct way to utilize
implementation.
ARC. Yes, which also kind of falls into the CEC
which was
implementation
also
as well.
Implementation was a problem.
Right. Now, unless you had, I will say, if you had the same brand of device, it was better. Maybe not as good as it was touted or supposed to be anyways.
The S brand.
Yes.
If you had an S brand AVR and an S brand TV, they were generally fairly reliable because you would actually turn off the CEC.
Yes.
And enable ARC, and it worked reasonably reliably.
Right.
Every other connection in the early days of ARC, up until last week, maybe this week, was not as reliable because of what was involved. And we're going to go through what's involved to make ARC work and why we were not big fans of it for the typical consumer that a custom integrator was dealing with.
Right. Now, I think before we really dive into the problems of what ARC created, I think we need to go into describing how ARC is supposed to be used, and maybe some of the confusion that created.
Are you going to do your pro and con board?
I am. I'm going to do the pro. Well, yeah, because we did do the pro and con board.
Yes.
I'll do maybe not a pro and con, but I'm going to do at least a diagram of an ARC system and how it's supposed to be used.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, whoop, there we go.
And
I'm
I remember,
wake this back
just
up.
for its worth, in the early days of the whiteboard, he laughed at me. Look at him now.
Yeah, no, he's
becoming a drawing fanatic.
I like the whiteboard. I can say that I like the whiteboard.
Use the blue.
Remember
that
yeah,
black
that's right. Yeah, the black was going bad. Let's just go ahead and just toss it. There we go. Okay, so with ARC audio, what's really confusing about it is the direction that it's going. And here's the thing. I say it's really confusing, and I don't mean it as everyone's confused by it, but there's enough people that have been confused by this that it's necessary for us to kind of lay out how it's supposed to be. So, in a traditional system, that one's kind of opened up.
Yeah, that one's. Oh, gee, wow.
I'm mad sciencing that one.
Oh, is this part of your circuit board testing?
My project that you're not supposed to be talking about. So normally, in a system, what you have is you've got your source device. In this case, we're going to call this the Apple TV, right? Then from the source device...
You're going to start with problems right out of the gate, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. From the source device, we go HDMI over to our AVR. Now, from the AVR... It's interesting.
Are we broke again?
Nope, we're okay. From the AVR, we then go across another HDMI cable to our display. We'll call this the TV, right? Really straightforward. Now, the green's going to be our HDMI connection, of course, but on these HDMI connections from the Apple TV to the AVR, we have audio and video, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The AVR then takes the audio portion of it, and it does its thing. It's the audio endpoint, right? It's handling all the surround sound,
sends
the stereo,
it to the speakers,
whatever else.
wherever it's going to go.
Exactly. It's the amplifier. But it forwards the video over to the TV, right?
Yes, sir.
I believe I'm explaining one of the most basic principles of AV systems.
On the AVR, what connection is this connected to?
So in this case, it's just the output. We're just going to say it's just the output for right now.
And it is just an output.
Yep.
And so this is just
an input.
An input.
Yep. Same thing with the Apple TV to the AVR. Because guess what?
It's all going forward.
That new Apple TV, it's got some interesting features. We'll come back to this here in a minute.
Problems.
Yes.
But,
so
much like just a standard HDMI cable.
Yep. Just
cruising along.
A to B to C. It just kept right on going, right? It's really straightforward. Here's the start point. Here's the end point, right? We're going on a trip on our favorite rocket ship. I'm sorry, I have children. So.
The wheels on the bus go round and round.
Yep. When we go in this direction, everything's pretty straightforward. And I really think that most everyone can understand this concept.
And it generally works.
Yes. Now, here's the thing. With the advent of smart TVs, and I think that's really what kind of pushed for this to become a thing, but with the advent of smart TVs, we really created the need to get, okay, here's our starting point. The TV is now our starting point and our end point for video, right?
Well, it's not just smart TV. Some people have gone back to using antennas.
That's correct, yeah. If we're using an antenna to pull up, just
local
over the
channels.
air, just local channels and whatnot. So now we have to figure out a way to get the audio from the TV back to the AVR because we want to enjoy our surround sound
audio.
or just the fact that it's an amplified signal, right?
Right, it's a whole lot better than the speakers in the TV.
Right. So now the question comes back to, well, what do we do? Well, in the old days, when we had like CRT TVs or whatever else, we could just run an RCA, or a pair of RCAs from the TV from its analog output,
right, stereo out,
back to the TV, right, back to the stereo. And that was fine. It worked great, and in most cases, it was exactly what you needed. However, again, with the advent of the digital age, we could also do a digital connection. We could do Toslink, or we could do digital coax, or whatever else from the TV back to the AVR, right? Again, really straightforward. Now, HDMI, in all of their infinite wisdom, and I will say they had a really good idea.
It's a great idea.
It's elegant.
HDMI in general is the concept of this taking the place of 3 video cables, RGB.
Yep.
And a digital cable, whether it's digital coax or optical.
Right.
And an RS-232.
Yes.
Really is a great idea.
It really is. It's
plug
all
and play.
It's all
there.
It's all in one cable.
It's implementation.
Right.
That has been problematic.
There's another thing that we didn't add to this, but that could be an option in here as well. We could say, oh, we've got our local source, like an Xbox or a PlayStation or whatever.
Right, because
whatever
we want the controller in the room.
Right. That's going to be local to the TV. So in this case, we have both audio and video coming down this HDMI cable to the TV, right? So everything's right there in that one location. So how do we get the audio from the Xbox back to the AVR?
Well, in the early days of ARC, we didn't use ARC.
We didn't use ARC. We would break out the audio in some other way and get it back over that way.
Okay, sir, do you have an extra cable of either this type or this type, Cat 5 or coax?
Yep, exactly.
And why did we do that?
Well, with the Cat 5, we could use an extender of some kind, an audio extender. Or if you had coax, we could just convert the toss link from the TV over to digital coax and run it back to the AVR.
So, and why did we have them do that instead of ARC?
Well, because ARC just didn't work. It worked when it wanted to, and even then, it wasn't very easy to make it work correctly.
Okay, so end user.
Yep.
You're the custom integrator.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're going to program this remote to tell that AVR that you want to use either a local source or smart apps in that TV. How did we recommend they did that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, number one, we avoided ARC.
Yes, very much so.
We simply told them to, okay, you're going to take a D2D.
Sure.
Which is a digital optical to digital coax adapter.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Correct.
Take a piece of coax.
Yep.
Terminate with RCAs or F and then do the RCA adapters.
Sure.
Take it back to digital coax on the AVR. So all you really had to do was change the input
on the
AVR.
Exactly.
Now, if you wanted to use ARC, it was not that simple.
No.
What did you have to do to make ARC work, Adam?
We can kind of show this. And what we'll do is we'll switch back over here, and I'll put this back on over here. So this TV here. Now, we're lucky because this is a new TV.
And it does the easier way.
It does it the easier way.
eARC, and we'll get to that.
So with this TV here, it's gonna its user menu and its interface is much better than what it used to be.
Well, then, okay, let's skip this TV. Let's talk about a call we all three took yesterday.
Oh.
The guy trying to get ARC to work over his extender.
Oh,
I took it.
Oh,
Lewis
yes.
Stewart took it.
So we had ARC enabled. So the gentleman was trying to get ARC audio from the TV back to an AVR.
On an ARC enabled extender.
Yep. The extender had it. Everything was looking like it was supposed to work like it was supposed to. However, when we went into the settings of the TV, ARC was turned on.
Right.
Well, we ensured that it was turned on first.
And this took several calls to get everything figured out. We made sure that the extender was working properly, and it started off with 12 foot of Cat 5.
Way too short.
Way too short, so we had him extend that.
Yep.
So we get video functioning, we get control functioning.
Yep.
But ARC's not functioning.
Correct.
So Adam's on the phone with the guy, and what was the question?
Do you have CEC turned on the AVR? Because the reason for this is because ARC traditionally uses CEC or natively uses CEC to tell the source device or
the AVR.
To tell the AVR, because source device and endpoint
the source device is now the TV.
Is now the TV. It's telling the AVR at this point, hey, start using the ARC input in order to transmit the audio.
No, and he thinks everything's turned on for ARC, but it wasn't until the CEC was turned on at the receiver that ARC actually clicked in and functioned.
Right. So real quick, I want to show what this looks like on this TV here. So what I'm going to do,
other than the little flippy mousy thing, which
I'm gonna move with the navigation keys. So on this one here, all I did was hit settings, and it brings up this quick settings menu here on the side. Now, traditionally, it wasn't that way. You would have to go into the actual menus of the TV itself, deep into the settings,
and find hidden stuff,
and find it. So now I have HDMI Arc already selected. Now this TV actually has quite a bit. Normally, you have just the internal TV speakers, but we also have Bluetooth as an option. We now have WISA speakers or WISA speakers or whatever they call it now.
I think it's WISA.
Which are just wireless speakers.
It's
which
a standard
for that. LG has really dove into. Yeah, there we go. You know, I think these shows are getting less and less about technology and more and more about
vocabulary
and grammar. You can also use a mobile device. This is really cool features. You can use your cell phone to listen to the TV. Optical output. This is the one that we would normally say, go with this. Use the optical output of this TV, transmit over some kind of extender or a Toslink cable if it's close enough, and just make the connection. Yep. HDMI Arc. Now the HDMI Arc is a selection now because we have this hardwired into our AVR here on the side.
Now, before it was connected, this was grayed out.
That was grayed out, correct.
Because there's CEC turned on,
right.
So it knows it's there.
Now there are TVs that are out there that have been out for a while anyways, where if you didn't have it plugged into an ARC-enabled AVR, it wouldn't even be an option in here. It wouldn't even show up. It wouldn't even be grayed out. It would just be gone. It's also got some audio out for line outs, which is fantastic, which if you can find a TV that has analog audio output on it still, save that in your head so that you can track it down again, because it's a great feature. It solves a lot of problems. This one also has wired headphone outputs. It changes that analog output to a variable control, thank you, versus a static volume.
I mean fixed volume.
Fixed, well, fixed, static. Maybe don't say static for volume, because then static it makes you think that it's okay. Again, there we are at grammar and vocabulary. It's got Bluetooth for surround speakers, so it can use the internal TV speakers for the front stage. Then it can use Bluetooth. This is not a
home theater replacement.
This is not something that we're saying, hey, buy this. We're not advertising for LG right now. But man, this is so freaking nice. All these options. If you're an integrator, you know. If you're an integrator, tell me in the comments.
Do you use
that
these
you
functions?
know, because you know. Just put in there, I know. Wired headphones can act as plus the internal speakers. So this means that you can use the internal speakers for the people who are listening to it, and then the wired headphones for someone who can't hear. Exactly.
What?
So we're going to set this to ARC. Now, there's one thing to understand with this as well. Many TV systems out there don't have all of their HDMI inputs as ARC inputs.
Well, none of them have all of them as ARC.
Right. Yeah, usually there's only one. Right? So, and now here's the other thing. I say ARC inputs because technically speaking,
it's an ARC output.
It's an ARC output, but it's an HDMI input. So let's switch back over here to our top-down shot, and we'll talk more about what's happening here. So what's happening now is we're taking we'll just change the color, how about that? We're taking the audio from the TV over an HDMI connection.
That's the same HDMI connection that the video is getting to the TV.
Correct. So now this connection here is going this way, and we're going this way. But we're also using the same HDMI connection there. So we're not adding an HDMI. We're not adding another cable. We're using the same HDMI that's already in place. And so we're getting our audio connection there.
Where's our PIP?
Oh, where is our PIP? Hit the right button. There we are. So with now we're sending audio this way. Now here's what's great about this. The video forward connection is still there. It's
we haven't physically reconnected anything.
Correct.
Just in the old days, you had to get into deep menus and change everything.
Right.
So from a consumer standpoint, it was a pain in the rear.
Well, and for a dealer or integrator standpoint, it's a pain because of what it would take to make it automated or integrated into a system.
Yeah.
Good luck, and in most cases, we're not doing it.
Right, because you had to change everything here and change everything there.
And changing everything there. Like we had that call earlier from yesterday where the gentleman had that problem where it was in the AVR that we missed it, or that he missed it, to turn on CEC. Now, in many cases, he probably didn't know that he needed to do that.
Just didn't know.
Right.
And, we all three got him at different projects. I got him at the beginning when it was 12 foot.
Yes.
And then you got him with everything's functioning but ARC.
Right.
And now, ARC, if it's ARC,
yep,
traditional ARC, I still highly encourage don't use it.
Yeah. Put a Toslink converter in there
and just run the coax
back, and then back, and then you're good.
Because first off, the best audio you're going to get out of ARC is 5.1 anyway.
Correct.
Which is the same thing you're going to get out of the back of the TV from an optical or digital coax.
That's right.
That's it.
Yep.
So there's no gain. eARC is what changed the playing field.
It did. Now, and I really want to hammer this home here really quick, because you're not looking for an ARC output from the TV, right? You're looking for, on the back of the TV, you're going to have, we're going to say 3 HDMI inputs.
By the way, this one is input 2.
That is input 2. So we have 3 HDMI inputs. So here's 1, 2, and 3. Now what you'll probably see on the back of it is you'll see like a, in parentheses, eARC, right? That's the input on the TV that you want to plug your HDMI cable into, right? Now for the new TVs, you might see an eARC, but we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. So you make sure that you're plugged into that input on the TV. Even
from the cable going to the AVR.
Yes, or coming from the AVR. Here's the thing. Again, we know that this is an input, and we know that that ARC audio is technically the output portion of this. So just keep that in mind. And again, I don't mean to hammer this home or make you repeat myself so often. However, it's still something that I get calls on for tech support. Which input, or where's my ARC output? Or how do I make this work? And it's something that I really want to put this out there and really kind of hammer it home that this is what you're looking for. So once you do that, don't forget your AVR. Many AVRs have 2 outputs, either a mirrored output or a zone 2.
Monitor and a zone 2.
Right. So on the output of the AVR, you'll have an out 1 and an out 2 in some cases. Now, or monitor A, monitor B, or whatever it is. But you're looking for the ARC output.
Now, ARC and eARC are basic. If you have an ARC AVR and an eARC TV, the TV will step down
to ARC. Yes, correct.
However, you're back to all the problems that you dealt with in the previous world with ARC.
That's right. So, and actually it also works the other way too. So if you have an ARC TV, but you have an eARC AVR, the AVR will step down to ARC.
If either of them are ARC,
it'll step down.
It'll step down, but more importantly, if either of them are ARC,
use the Toslink.
Use the Toslink or coax adapter.
Yep. So this is the connection. This is the connecting point that you're going to want to have. You're going to want to go from your ARC output from the AVR to your ARC input on the TV. Make sure that you go to that connection.
ARC to ARC.
ARC to ARC. Make sure that's the connection that you have with your HDMI. That's really important to make sure that it works correctly. It's not a separate input-output. It's the same connection that you use with HDMI. So, now that I've hammered that home a few times.
What home?
ARC and eARC. I'm going to say you're looking for your hashtag ARCput.
You're really going to bring that up?
I'm going to bring it up again. I love it so much. You're not looking for an input. You're not looking for an output. Neither of those. You're looking for an ARCput. I don't know why they didn't take the time. I don't know why they didn't actually do that on this. They should have done an ARCput here and an ARCput there. It really just would have been
an ARC everywhere, an ARCput.
ARCput. Hashtag ARCput.
Please, nobody encouraging. Please don't.
Okay, so now that is the layout for ARC. Let's talk more about why it didn't work correctly.
Well, I assume we're going to get into menus now.
So let's not get too far into the menus or anything like that, because let's talk more about what physically causes ARC to not work correctly. Let's start there, because
operator error is the #1 cause.
That's usually the cause. Now, and again, we come back to what happened on the phone call. That was an ARC setup. That was not an eARC setup that we took the phone call on. However, that's what happened. It was just, and I wouldn't even say error. It's just
lack of understanding,
lack of knowing what to look for, and that's just comes with experience for doing it and getting it set up,
now,
and running into that problem ourselves.
Even if you have the experience,
yes.
Even if you've read all the manuals,
yep.
Multi-brand compatibility was not always stable.
Right.
And at least eARC defined what is supposed to happen in a much greater detail than ARC did by leaving a lot of room for slop.
Yes. So, and they also kind of nailed down what CEC was supposed to be doing and what type of commands were supposed to be sent. So CEC, of course, is Consumer Electronic Control. Again, if you're in the industry, you already know what it is. It may not be called that on your TV or your AVR. It could be called
SimpLink, A1,
Bravia Sync,
yeah,
TV control, home theater control, depends on what it is. But CEC was on every device in the HDMI chain. So your source device, like an Apple TV, your AVR, your TV, your projector, your
Roku,
splitter, your
Amazon.
Roku, your whatever else, it's all over the place. Now, that's really important for other problems as well, because CEC can cause its own problems because, again, nobody really agreed on the correct use of CEC. And so in some cases, a power command could be a power toggle command or an on-off command, or you could have a channel up or a channel down command. But
play pause
it may not be the same
display or pause.
Right. It may not be the same code as what one manufacturer is using to another. They're supposed to. That's what they're supposed to do. But Brent, what do we know about supposed to do's?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I'm supposed to do.
There's a lot of supposed to do's. So with ARC, one of the biggest problems is that even when you were doing everything that you were supposed to do, the CEC command to enable ARC just may not be consistent. It may not be working correctly. And again, you run into the thing where, why does everyone have a different name for CEC? Why don't they just call it CEC? Well, that's because they said, well, sure, we'll use CEC as a basis, but we're going to do our own stuff with it.
Well, bloatware on a computer.
Yep.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah, it's
just
creep.
bloatware on your TV.
It's just creep. It's just feature creep and option creep and whatever else.
And fortunately, HDMI got a little bit better control over eARC.
Yep.
Now, when ARC first came out, now I'm not branding a product.
No.
But this is an ARC.
Yep.
It's a Sonos ARC.
Yep.
Now, I've done a number of sound bars where we had to give up on ARC and just go to optical.
Yes.
Because even the sound bar to the TV, we're talking 3 feet.
Right.
Was not consistent. And I'm talking even in brand, Sony, for example.
Yep.
Just, you give up and you switch to an optical because you know it every time.
Yep.
It's gonna work.
Yep.
With ARC, eARC does change the playing field.
It does. So first off, with ARC, one of the things that it does is the channel that it travels down. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, it should be the Ethernet channel.
It's HEAC channel and the HDMI cable.
Right.
Now, which is intriguing because in the early days of HDMI, a lot of manufacturers did not populate the cable with that copper.
Yes.
Because it was not required in the test from HDMI.
And if it was there, just unpopulated, look, if you have one cable or one line in there that's not actually, doesn't have anything there. No, they didn't
even have the copper there because it costs less.
So,
now,
yeah.
Just for what it's worth, anything you ever bought from us that has the Ethereal brand on it.
From the very beginning.
It's fully populated.
Mm-hmm.
The only change that happened as we went along when we hit the 1.3 or 1.4, honestly I don't remember at this point, we moved something from one tab to another for Ethernet.
Right.
And that's what changed. That was the HEAC channel.
Yep.
But any cable from Ethereal will support ARC.
Yep.
Or eARC.
Yep.
Any cable we've ever built.
So when ARC had the problem, one of the problems they had also with ARC was that channel that it was the HEAC channel, what it was traveling down, they may not have had the same amount of copper on the gauge of the strand itself.
Which cuts your distance down.
Exactly. Now, because of course with video, we know that's the important one, so we need a little bit more of a higher gauge on that one.
And everybody's focused on video. Now, let's take that a step further. The focus on video has caused EDID issues through the years because they didn't think about, okay, what about the DDC channels? Oh, that's just DDC, it's low speed data.
Yeah.
And the stuff fails.
Right.
So you have to look at every single component of the cable.
Yep.
We've tested cables, for example, where the HEAC copper was too small, even on a high bandwidth cable. It did perfect for 48 gigs, but still would not support all the EDID properly.
So what's the distance that we're going, what's our go-to distance as
15 meters.
As the limit, right?
15 meters.
Now, and also that's the same when it comes to passive cables or active cables,
right?
Because that channel on there is not active.
Part of the active electronics.
Right. So even your AOC cables,
whether it's an active copper cable or an active fiber cable,
right?
The copper on an AOC cable, which is the video travels forward on the fiber channels.
Right.
The eARC travels backwards on the copper EDID and HEAC channels.
Right.
And they're not meant to go over 15 meters. So just because the cable goes 300 feet forward for video, well, the video works perfect. Why doesn't ARC work? Because it's not on the video feeds. It's on smaller copper that's not really, the assumption is, the reality of it is that if you're doing that, you have an AVR with all your sources in it, and you have a display that's only a display. Otherwise, the cable gets really big. And expensive.
So now with ARC, now we kind of get the idea of why ARC didn't work, right? Or what, at least a better idea anyways. So now that we've moved on to eARC, eARC now with HDMI 2.1, and actually technically even HDMI 2.0
worked fine on.
And with eARC, what changed? What are some of the changes that actually happened?
Well, first off, it was a much narrower program out of the gate. They said, okay, this is the only function you have to work within this parameter. So having a smaller parameter increased compatibility dramatically. The other thing it gave us is now we're in a full high bandwidth data transfer. So now we have the cool audio.
So we have Dolby Atmos, we have DTS:X, we've got all of these object-based
Everything is so much better than 5.1.
Yeah.
But we still have the same limitations.
True.
15 meters.
Yes. Because we're still traveling down
the same copper channel.
The same copper. Oh, it did change the channels, didn't it? It's now on a different channel?
No, it's still on the copper channels. It's just how the data is transmitted.
Yeah, it's still copper, but is it the HEAC channel still? Or
still
is it
the HEAC channels.
Okay. So
what did change is how the data is coded and decoded.
So what's changed, what's really actually changed, is how the source, in this case being the television, and the endpoint is communicating. They're
much
just
better.
handling it much better. They're both speaking the same language is really what it starts with. With ARC, it's using a Latin base, but
at the beginning of this broadcast, what do you
Spanish
say our
or French.
broadcasts also becoming? Vocabulary lessons.
Vocabulary lessons, exactly.
And what has changed is it's a much more defined vocabulary between the display and the source.
So now everybody's speaking
the
English.
Exact same technical language.
Whereas before they were speaking, it may have had the base of something, so like Latin, for instance, but now, but one may be speaking, Spanish, or one may be speaking French.
It's machine code.
And so now it's just everyone's speaking the same language.
It's all machine code.
Which makes a huge difference for compatibility because
and reliability.
When you now, for instance, the Sonos Arc, when you plug it into the eARC port of a TV with eARC, it just works.
It does.
Not for nothing, if you have not had a chance to use eARC in your systems yet, or in the designs that you're putting together.
And you're within 15 meters.
And you're within 15 meters. Use it. It's great. It honestly is for the capabilities of what it's doing. Literally, it's just plug and play. You tell the TV to control the volume, and it's controlling the volume of that device because it's communicating with it over the HDMI cable. Honestly, it's fantastic. It really is. eARC has done a fantastic job of solving the problems of what ARC had originally, other than distance. That's basically it. Yeah. So with eARC, one of the biggest benefits, of course, now is that we have, like we said before, we have the better audio
and
types.
Think about the soundbars now that have Atmos built into them. I mean, soundbars are still not a home theater.
No, they're not, but they're with
they've
the Atmos.
Gotten decent with Atmos.
So and we've talked about this multiple times already, but with Atmos, the great thing about Atmos is that even on a 2-channel setup, with Atmos signal processing being put in place, you still technically can have that surround sound effect, not true surround sound, but the surround sound effect, because it's still processing the information
moving it around.
And it actually, it's kind of tweaking it a little bit. We talked about how Bose did that in the early days of surround sound, where they would trick the audio into making it sound like it's coming through the back of your ears rather than the front of your ears. Really cool stuff. Really cool stuff. But in that case, like a Sonos soundbar here, in many cases you're not using full surround sound. You're using, in this case, 3-channel.
Left, center, right.
But you still can have the Dolby Atmos audio in there and still get better audio overall. Now, is it really close to just normal 2-channel or 5.1 with just the front stage? Yes, it's very close to that.
And for
but it's a little bit better.
For bedroom, it's cool. It's adequate.
It's great. Yeah, do something like that. So That's basically all I had to talk about with ARC. There is one more thing that we want to do because this is a pre-recorded episode. Our Friday episode, we are actually cramming our Friday episode into our Wednesday episode as well. So
hi, I'm Brent.
I'm Adam.
And welcome to Metra AV Tech Tips Solutions.
That's right.
Because it's Friday.
So if you don't watch our Friday episodes, you'll get a little sample of it here. Please check us out on Fridays. Normally, it's every Friday at 3 p.m. And with that being said, I think we're going to chop this off and put it on Friday.
Right.
So if you are watching our Friday episode and you haven't watched our Wednesday episode,
please go back and see
Go back and watch the Wednesday episode.
But Friday is all about one of our products in relation to what we talked about on Wednesday.
That's right.
So what do you got there, Adam?
Well, the Wednesday episode, and again, if you are here on the Wednesday episode, thank you for sticking around for this. But so far, we talked about ARC and eARC, and specifically, we've talked about the problems and the features and what with eARC is now fixed and all that kind of good stuff.
And this is assuming that you have eARC in the entire chain.
Correct. So in many cases, you are still operating on an ARC connection in order to get that signal back to the AVR or soundbar or whatever it is. So what we're going to look at here instead is how do we bypass ARC? How do we not use ARC? Which is kind of funny to say because in the entire episode that we've talked about how do we fix ARC and how do we make eARC work and all that kind of stuff.
Sometimes you can't.
Sometimes you can't, and we're going to talk about what to do in those cases. So that's where this guy comes in. So this is the CS-C5ADE. So the CS-C5ADE is very similar to our CS-C5DE, which is our digital audio extender. This is also an analog and digital audio extender. So this guy here, the way that this works is that it will take in a digital and or analog input, and it will send that signal across a Cat5 cable.
Now, what's nice about this is you have three inputs. You have digital coax, digital optical, and analog. Now, only one of the inputs can be live, and they're not selectable. I mean, once it's selectable once,
yes,
and then you're done. But all three outputs are live.
That's right.
And that's really unique because if you're going into a situation where you have to support digital signal and analog signal, or possibly two digital signals, and I had that call earlier this week, this is a great solution for that.
Let's get rid of this, Brent. We'll use, we'll go over to our cork board. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to switch over to our top-down shot. We're going to give us our picture-in-picture. So this
You've already opened the box.
I have. Well, here, how about this? We'll do this. Okay. So this is the CS-C5ADE, everybody. We'll give us a little bit of a closer look at it. It's the analog and digital audio extender. We'll go ahead and open up the box here a little bit. First thing that we're going to see, of course, is we've got our user manual. Pretty straightforward stuff, but this does go into detail about the type of connections that you have, which we'll talk about that here in just a second, and how it works. Now, Brent, this audio extender, guess how far this one can go?
I'm going to say 100 feet.
More than that. A lot more than that.
How far can this one go?
450 meters.
That's 1,200 feet.
That's 1,480 feet. That's pretty far.
That's pretty far.
So in the box here, of course, we've got our power supply for it. I believe this is a 12 volt, 1 amp power supply. It is powered on one side, so this is really handy for that purpose. So you only have to power it either on the, I believe this is on the transmit side, in order to power both sides. So that's really nice. Set that off to the side there. It also comes with mounting tabs, so you can mount this to a surface, maybe behind a TV or in a rack or something like that. It does come with that as well. And we'll take out the units here. The first unit is on top. There's a nice little divider here for that foam.
Just a cushion.
And then the bottom one there as well. And so we'll go ahead and put that back in there and get that out of the way. From here, whoop, hit the wrong button, there we go. From here, we go ahead and open this up.
Dun, dun, dun.
So this here is the transmitter. Transmitter receiver look very, very similar. We're going to start with this side here. You have your Cat5 or Cat6 connection here. We also have our DC 12 volt power input there as well. If we flip it around here, we have our Toslink connection, our digital coax, and our left-right RCA inputs as well. Right? Now, like Brent was saying, the transmitter, there's not really a selection on it. There's no switch or anything for it specifically.
Only one's hot.
Correct. So when you plug in whichever one you want to use, you plug it in, leave the other ones disconnected, and it's going to use that audio input.
That's the hot one.
Yep, that's basically it. Set that one off to the side over here. Talk about the receiver.
Now, it's nice that we are labeled TX and RX on top, so you can see what goes where.
Yep. So this is the receiver here, and like Brent said, it's got the RX here, that little dot there, the Metra AV logo there and everything. On the back of it here, you'll notice it looks identical to the transmitter. Cat 5, Cat 6 input. We have the DC 12 volt input as well, so you can power this on either side. You don't have to put it on the transmit side. You have your Toslink output, your digital coax output, and your left-right audio output.
Now let's talk about that real quick, because this is important. This is not a Dolby Digital down mixer.
Correct.
So if you are sending Dolby Digital audio out of your TV into this, and it will absolutely carry it.
Yep.
It will not break it down into analog audio at the other end.
That's right.
So if you're running multi-channel audio, you're going to want to hear the center channel sounds like this on your analog side, because there won't be a center channel.
You'll get a lot of like weird noises and whatnot if you're trying to do that as well. So
don't do that.
Yeah. Now what you can do, however, is 2-channel. So you can send 2-channel audio, whether it's digital or analog. And on the output side, it will output that signal on the output. So you can get the 2-channel on the Toslink, 2-channel on coax, and the 2-channel on the RCA outputs as well. So you can actually do both, or sorry, all 3 of them at the same time if you needed to.
Right.
Right. So it's not very often that you would need to, but in some cases,
it's
nice to have. I had that call
the other day.
Right. You can have some extra outputs on it. So this is the CS C5 ADE. It's available now. Reach out to it should be in stock. Reach out to your sales rep or your distributor for availability and pricing. There we go. Reach out to your sales rep for availability and pricing, and definitely check it out online. You can look it up. It's the CS-C5 ADE is the model number, and we should have that down in the description as well if you have any questions about it. But Brent, I think that basically covers that.
Wait, there's one more thing to remember.
Yeah.
It's Friday, so you're on your way back from Dallas.
Well, it's either Wednesday or Friday, but I should be on my way.
On Friday,
if it's Friday,
you're on your way back from Dallas.
That's right.
And just in case you're wondering, I am on my way to Barcelona.
You're on your way to Barcelona, Spain.
Just to remind you that...
Not rubbing it in.
No.
While I am in Texas, I will eat as much, gourmet...
Tex-Mex.
I'm going to get, honestly... I'm looking forward to just a steak, just like a
big,
real
thick,
Texas steak.
Thick red steak.
Right?
Well, there's some awesome brisket in Dallas.
I'm looking forward to that as well. I believe we're actually getting some brisket at the Tola show. At least there was last year. That was really good. I had some, even though it's like the little catered, food and whatnot, it's good. It's really good. So, but with that, everybody,
I'm going to be tapping out the weekend and on the Barcelona beaches because the sun's shining.
What's worse than all of this is the fact that I do believe that the booth will pretty much be set up by the time you get there.
Oh, no.
You have to do setup?
No. Mo and I have to build the booth.
Okay.
It's Mo and I.
So that does make me feel a little bit better, but only a little bit. So
you're going to take a little solace in the fact that I have to work for a living?
Yes.
For a day or two?
Yes.
Okay.
Because you're not going to Barcelona, Spain only for recreation.
No. I'm Brent.
I'm Adam.
Reboot early.
Reboot often.
Turn off CEC.
Don't cut your wires too short.
Call tech support.
And make sure your HD base T is 20 meters.
Have a great weekend.
We'll see y'all later, everybody.